Welcome to the Go Team Live podcast. This is our community gathering for Game On. And it's all about the quality of questions that you introspect, you answer to create the quality of your life. Today's guest is Mandi J Nelson, and she is a power source for this incredible journey of growth and spiritual awakening that can happen when you uncover and start peeling that onion and really going to the source of where we're from to be able to polish where we're heading. In this episode, we listen to Mandi's meditation, which really was stunning to experience. So if you're driving or anything, make sure you take care when the meditation drops. But in its business card style of understanding the wisdom within Mandi, you will want to check in on the show notes and reach out to Mandi and just see where she's at and how you can get more of Mandi into your life. Now, this podcast is powered by Game On. And Game On is a tool to be able to help you create your best day, which in turn creates your best life. Game On is a simple journaling system that you can share with your friends, family, teams, organizations, peer support groups. It really is a fantastic way to kick off your day in a morning routine that sets you up for the win, which is so important because the investment you put into your morning routine, whether it be yoga, exercise, meditation, adding journaling to that process and having that as a simple and efficient tool really does amplify the potential of your day and your life. So we start with gratitude, the fastest way to happiness. A is awareness for how you're feeling to improve the relationship with yourself and others, improve your emotional intelligence and emotional regulation. We have an intention setting. There's no bigger power play in the book than setting your day up for more productivity and getting the brain to switch into a gear to make that happen for you by writing it down. And then we can also experience more positive emotions if we so choose. We have a mindful moment to reduce stress and anxiety, to learn the philosophies and practices within the mindfulness sphere, and find simplicity in life, which creates happiness. Now, we have organizing non-doing, and we're all so busy. So scheduling a non-doing timer so that you have space in your life to allow creativity for questions, answers, finding solutions for problems that you may be facing, and really feeling your lotto life. Because where would you be in life with more resources than to spend more time doing less? And it resonates with the question from Mandi as we ask for what can be achieved when we find more stillness in our life. So if you're ready to go on this path, strap yourself in, get yourself a journal, get yourself your favorite pen, find yourself somewhere comfortable, because this is one of those recordings that you may actually appreciate just sitting down quietly instead of the usual, listening to a podcast while you're driving or doing the dishes, housework, multitasking. This may be an opportunity for you to actually sit down and take some time to, follow this path and follow Mandi J Nelson's journey to her own personal growth story and where we find her today. So, love your work. Find your way to win the day. Let's hit the record button and hear from Mandi J Nelson. Thank you, everybody, for joining us to the Go Team Live podcast. We're talking the meaning of life. And it is something that you have to be a little brave to enter the realm of digging and uncovering what potentially could be a little gem of information that makes you think about life in a different way. And I find that this podcast is creating some amazing value and some shifting in perspective about how to do life on a day-to-day. So I've invited Mandi J Nelson along to join us for the ride. I met Mandi in Bali at a cafe, the Soma Cafe.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was interesting because I was on a Eat, Pray, Love journey to Bali Spirit Festival. And in my head, I had the idea that to stand out at this festival, I needed to look cool. And in my head, I had this really good idea because I wouldn't be wearing shoes the whole festival. I get my nails painted. How crazy would that be? And then the place where I went to get my nails painted had like the most useless selection of colors. And I'm sitting there at the cafe feeling a little bit like I didn't get what I was planning. And then we meet Mandi and Julian Silburn. I was with Mark Bentley, and we just met them by chance. And then I showed Mandi my nails, and she just went. She almost spat her lunch out, laughing at my ridiculous nails. And so that was our first meeting, and I remember it well because I should know better, but sometimes in life you think you know, and then life doesn't turn out the way you plan. So thank you for joining me, Mandi.
It's an honor.
Your energy is just so infectious, and every time I see you, we have this beautiful connection. As much as we haven't seen a lot of each other, it just seems so beautiful and homely. And I welcome you to the Game On Communities podcast. So thank you for coming along.
It's such an honor, and it's a real privilege. And I think what generally is what occurs between the two of us is laughter. So this is going to be interesting because, I mean, this is quite serious subject. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how this occurs.
Yeah. I can be serious. I've just got a cheeky face. Now,
no nail polish today.
No nail polish. I have moved on from the superficial. I'm working here. Now, the way that this is going to run is we're going to ask Mandi to take us for a nice little grounding meditation so that we can feel at home in this space and let the rest of the day wash over us. And if you're listening to this as a recording and you're driving or operating heavy machinery, or you're a dentist and you're working on somebody's molars, please just take care and safety for yourself, please. If you like to fast forward, do what you like, but this is going to be a treat for everybody here. And if you have an opportunity to take the time, please find yourself somewhere comfortable. Mandi will take us through a meditation, and then we'll come back and dive a little deeper into her story. So Mandi, please welcome us to the space with your beautiful words.
Okay, beautiful. So I'm just going to ask that you find yourself a comfortable position and close down your eyes, just making sure that your spine is nice and straight. And the first part of this is a little bit of a take home. It's a little bit of gift packed for you. It's a style of breath that is known as Viloma, which kicks in the parasympathetic nervous system. And usually you do that for up to 10 minutes. But if you want more information on that, we can actually put a link to a YouTube video that I recorded some time ago. But let's just bring that in to begin with. So we're going to be inhaling and exhaling through our nose. If that's not possible for you, of course, utilize your mouth. And basically, it's like an elevator type of breathing. And so we'll have a nice big exhalation just out through the mouth, just to let go of anything that's hanging around from the day. And then as you inhale, you're going to pull that breath out in through the stomach, coming up to the stomach. Then you're going to pause. You're going to take it all the way up to the rib cage and pause, take it all the way up to the upper chest. And then just pause for a moment. And then we're going to exhale everything out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll do that one more time. Inhaling to the stomach. 2, 3, pause. Ribs. 2, 3, pause. Upper chest. 2, 3, pause. Exhaling everything out. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just allowing the breath to regulate back to its natural rhythm now. And just allowing yourself to feel your breath's natural rhythm. No judgment, in complete allowance. And you might like to take your awareness to the space of your heart, and perhaps it helps to place the left hand on the heart. And just feeling into that space. Noticing any energy, perhaps, any emotion. And just being okay with that, whatever is there. And then you might like to place the right hand on the hara or the womb, the dantian, so just under the belly button. And just feeling into that space there. And noticing any sensation, emotion. And I'd like you to visualize a figure 8 that connects these two energy centers. So it's looping through the heart, looping through the dantian, the hara, the womb, coming all the way back up to meet at the heart space. And then perhaps you can visualize that that's a beautiful gold color, or maybe there's a color that's more prevalent for you. Just feeling that union between the heart and the womb, the heart and the hara, of the masculine and the feminine within. And then I invite you to take your awareness out through the womb eyes of the soles of your feet and allow your awareness to go all the way down, down through the layers of the earth's crust. Right down into the very heart center of Pachamama, and a beautiful amethyst crystalline cave. And allow yourself a moment to take in all of the different rays and hues of violet and purple, all of the different clusters and structures of the crystals. In the very center of this cave, in the heart center of Pachamama, is a campfire with a ruby red flame. So this represents the divine feminine. So I invite you to draw a line from this flame all the way up through the amethyst crystalline cave, up through the layers of the earth's crust, all the way up through the womb eyes on the soles of the feet, coming all the way up to meet in the hara, or the womb space, where your hand or your awareness is. And then I invite you to allow that energy, that ruby red, to join in that movement, that synchronized movement of the figure 8, spinning, spiraling energy as it interconnects with the masculine, the heart. And from here, allowing your awareness to extend up through the crown of your head, going all the way up. It's got to go through our Father, the Sun, past all of the planets, through the greater central sun, birthed into the cosmic womb, the space of nothingness, from which everything is birthed and created. Feeling this stillness. And with a flash of light, sapphire blue white light floods your awareness. You're going to send a line of this energy all the way down. This is the divine masculine. So it is birthed through the greater central sun. It comes down through all of the planets. Comes down through our Father, the Sun, down, down, through the crown of your head, into that heart space. Feeling that sapphire blue white light as it illuminates the heart space. Then allowing this light to intermingle in a beautiful dance of sacred union, spinning, spiraling, and turning with the ruby red. In that figure 8, the infinity symbol, creating divine and sacred union between feminine and masculine energies within. Creating harmony, creating balance, creating peace. And so it is. When you are ready, you can bring your awareness back into this space.
Thank you, Mandy.
Pleasure.
You cannot buy wisdom. You must experience and pursue these roots of knowledge. And in that meditation, I just felt so much of that from you, Mandy. And it's something that I just love about this podcast is the idea of taking these meditations and making them their own little piece. So I hope you don't mind us using that and taking that out of the recording on its own, because that was beautiful. And I almost want to work backwards from there in terms of from that as like a business card of your amazing self. Like what are you working on? Like how can people reach you at the moment? This is normally something I would say at the end, but I think it's how do we get more Mandy? How do we get more of that in our lives?
Well, you can definitely come up to Gidjagana, to Deshmaya Temple. I do offer ceremonies there. You'd have to keep an eye on my Facebook page because they're fairly sporadic, and yeah, I am traveling a little bit at the moment as well. I do offer one-on-one mentoring services, both structured and non-structured. So the structured ones, I have a whole program. It's a 12-month mentorship program called Heartlight Mastery, and it's teaching ancient feminine mystery school knowledge. So it is applicable for men and women. It's about finding that sacred union within, which, you know, because we all have feminine and masculine energies, just because we are in a particular vehicle type, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have both energies. And what has been hidden from a lot of spirituality is the feminine aspect. So we go into things like the lunar plexus. Have you heard of the lunar plexus before?
I've heard of solar plexus, of
exactly,
course.
Of course. The lunar plexus is in the belly button. It is the feminine aspect. It is the moon. It is the hidden. And then we also talk about like the feminine third eye, which is, again, I mean, you probably haven't heard about the feminine third eye. And you don't have to be feminine to have this, by the way. We all have it, but this is part of the hidden knowledge. And in this feminine third eye, this is our access to our gifts, our Akashic records. Whereas in the unhidden world, in the real world, if we want to call it that, this part of the brain is known for trauma. So it's just very interesting how the program has gone on with that. So that's one aspect of what we learn. There's different energy practices, and it includes like one-on-one mentoring sessions with me on a monthly basis, depending upon how frequent you want that to be. So yeah, we could put those in the comments, those links. Yeah.
And the show notes. And you're telling me you're still working on your online component?
That is the online component.
That is, so we can, no matter where you are, you can access this.
Yeah. So there are different levels of membership. You can just access the content itself, so you could just learn the material, so to speak. I wouldn't encourage that, because you start opening doorways as a result of doing this work. And you know, I'm a bit of an extremist. And so it was funny when this was all coming into play, like I was checking with my spirit guides, my team, going, really, does it really have to be 12 months? Like, you know, 12 months, that's a damn long commitment. Like,
but I can imagine it flying by when you're having to sift through all this information and actually like process it. Yeah,
it does fly by. It still is. I mean, to most people, committing to something for 12 months is a big call. I
It makes sense though with you. I honestly, I can't imagine anyone having a problem with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's great because I get to work with people over the whole, I get to see them through each season. And, it's such an honor for me, like, to work with people for 12 months because I've become really intimately involved in their lives, and they're so vulnerable with me. And that's a real honor to be entrusted to walk beside someone for 12 months. So it was really sad when the first 12 months finished. I had to start working with my own attachment issues. Because I've gone.
Seems reasonable to be attached. It's okay.
I'm really attached, and I started grieving, as the time was getting closer, and I didn't want to let them go, and there is a Heart Light Mastery 2 coming though, so that's a bit exciting as well. And it's deep work. It's deep work, really deep work. A lot of it comes down to really being open to face yourself, face ourselves, face the truth of what's actually going on for you. And it is heartbreaking at times. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of, it's always a challenge to kind of break through. It's possibly some of my most endearing and best loved work.
Breakthroughs. We all can remember a breakthrough in our own lives, right? We have these poignant moments that really give us this launch pad, and it may not have been pretty at the time, but looking back, it had to happen. It was something that we value now. Was there a moment for you that gave you this opening that may not have been, your favorite moment, but something in your experience that kind of changed the way you saw your life from that point?
How many years do we have, Peter? Yes, there have been many. I think a big breakthrough for me has really been being in a relationship. Prior to that, I was on a path of purification for, at that point, it was only, I think, let's say 8 years. So, and somewhere along that line, perhaps 2 years before, I'd had a womb awakening, and gateways were opened in that for me. So in my path of purification, again, I did mention I do everything to the nth degree. So I stopped. Well, I had an experiment for like 10 years. That was the initial outplay, to be as pure as I possibly could. So I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't smoke tobacco. I didn't drink coffee. I ate only organic food. What else? I wouldn't listen to low frequency music. I wouldn't wear black. I'm an extremist. So, halfway through, probably about 6-7 years, I had that womb awakening. And then I think that started to stir things for me. And up until that point, I forgot to say I didn't have sex either. So the womb awakening, things starting to stir kind of thing. And then then I think I met John probably, let's just say a year or so after that. Now, when I was in my path of purification, I wasn't being triggered because no one was close enough to me. So I was thinking that, I mean, I make fun and I say this, that I was holier than thou. I know that there were aspects of me that actually really thought that, you know, but because I wasn't being triggered. So, and because I was, you know, daily yoga, meditation, everything was light, you know, and I wasn't being triggered. So I thought that I was elevated, or
You were?
I was enlightened.
You were.
Or I was. No, I thought that I was.
But there must have been you must have felt good.
I felt amazing.
You were on your own path.
Yeah. I felt amazing. And I wasn't being triggered because no one was close enough to me to do that. Yeah. And then once John and I got together,
which must have been a big step in meeting someone so amazing and then saying, I'm on this path, but I had no intention of going down this path.
It's such a romantic story, actually.
Oh, we love talking about romantic stories.
Because we kind of realized that there was something going on between the two of us, and he went to Italy and I was going to India. So we were sending each other these long email messages, and like it was a courtship for a month, like that, you know, very old fashioned. And I was walking the streets of Rishikesh, you know, asking the universe, asking Rishikesh. It was just like a movie, you know, asking, what should I do here? Should I go this way, or should I stay in this path that I'm on? And I realized that if I wasn't going to go down that path, if I was on my deathbed, would I regret it? And I was like, yeah, I would. So I don't like to live a life of regret. So I was like, okay, I've got to give this a go. And yes, so I was getting triggered, and the little girl was coming out. And I thought I'd done all the work on this. I thought, yeah, it's all good. I've been doing the work. She's not there anymore. She was coming out, and she was really insecure because my background is that my mum had to go to work. So my mum and dad were at work, and I ended up being brought up by my grandmother. And so for the first 2 years of my life, my bond was with my grandmother. So, and my mum was only 19 years older than me. And she was a child herself. And so we both had rejection issues from one another, because I would go to my grandmother and not my mother, because my parents would take me home to bed, pick me up. Like as soon as I woke up in the morning, I'd go straight to my grandmother. So there was no kind of, so there were a lot of rejection issues and abandonment issues and just feeling insecure. You know, I didn't have any stable kind of love. Well, I did with my grandmother, but those primary. So yeah, I had a session with a lady named Linda. What is it? Linda Good McMillan, I think her name is, or McMillis, and she's in America, and she's an amazing lady. She's actually a walk-in, and she scans your like blueprint. I had a session with her about 3 years ago because I'm getting triggered. I was getting triggered as a little girl. Well, I wasn't getting triggered as a little. Well, actually, yes, I was getting triggered as a little girl, but I was getting triggered in my relationship. Yeah. And like I was doing whatever I could to try and, like, I hadn't even really recognized it was my little girl that was coming out, because, you know, I'd done inner child work. I did that years ago. I looked at that years ago. It was all, you know, I've done that. So I was trying everything, recognizing, hold on, you're out there and you're holding space for all of these people, and and yet in the background, you're having these like ridiculous triggers where you're just going from 0 to 100. Like, what is going on here? And so, yeah, I had this session with her, and she scanned my blueprint. She looked at what the artificial intelligence within the matrix of Mandi, and I loved that as a concept, because, like, you know, we live in Gidgana on over 500 acres, and we're fond of saying, sorry, Perth people, but we're fond of saying down in the matrix, you know, whereas Whereas, and that artificial intelligence, you know, in the matrix, that here she was telling me that I had artificial intelligence and I had a matrix here, and I'd never considered it from that perspective. Of course, what is without is also within. Anyway, she was like, you hated your mother. And I was like, no, and then I realized she was actually telling me the truth. Even though my mum and I had done a lot of work before she passed, as a little girl, I hated her. It was the truth. And she set me a list of questions and she gave me this work to do. And I was pretty blown away by that as an admission to myself. Like, because I was thinking of myself as a highly evolved, conscious woman, and like, you know, to actually think that really rested somewhere within me, that, yeah, was a bit mind-blowing. So anyway, I've gone outside after this session, and I'm sitting outside on the couch, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just kind of processing what had happened. And it was kind of summerish, so it was just becoming light. And from where the outside couch is, I can see the clothesline. And I saw this blue thing hanging on the line, right? And I was looking at it and I was going, oh, that's a blue dress. Like, so I was just witnessing my thoughts. And then I'm like, that's not my dress. And then I'm like, oh, because we had a friend, Jacob, living on the property at the time, and he had a girlfriend. And I was like, oh, maybe it's her dress, his girlfriend's dress. And then in the next one, there came the little girl, and she was like, no, maybe now that we have Jacob living on the property, John can have other women up there, and maybe it's his lover's dress, right? And I'm sitting there and I've witnessed that, and I've clearly seen the little girl come out, and I saw logical, and there she was jumping straight in, the little girl, like, where on earth did she pull that from? And then in the very next moment, I looked at the clothesline again, and this was the clincher that almost destroyed me. It wasn't a blue dress. It was my beach towel, my blue beach towel. So I had concocted this whole thing. And like, I felt flawed. And I went back into the house, and John had woken up by this point, and like, I went into the bedroom, I'm sure I must have looked really shell-shocked, hey? And like, he is going to be, what's going on? How'd your session go? How are you? And I'm like, I really can't talk to you at the moment. I can't, like, I'm in the middle of a process. Like, I've just had this massive realization, and like, I can't. And you know what? It actually did take me a little bit to be able to express that to him. In fact, I was more comfortable sharing that with my mentoring or my people that came to see me for one-on-ones. I was more comfortable in sharing that with them. And then when I realized I'd probably shared it 3 times without actually fully sharing it with him, I shared it with him. Yeah. And so this work is so deep. And, you know, it works, because now I see situations where the little girl would have come up and she would have come out, and either I witness the thought and I see it and there is no emotional trigger within me, or what happens is the event passes, and then I think 5 or 6 hours later, or the next day, or whatever it is, oh shit, hey, that happened and there was nothing there for me. There was no trigger. So, I mean, that's something that had ruined so many relationships for me.
Sure. And that is the work that you're doing now. You're adding that into your repertoire of learnings, because I think we can all resonate with that essence of, where we're coming from to this point has been greatly affected by our little person within. So that must be a process for your mentorship crew to be able to accept, and in the same essence, I'm sure everybody turns up thinking that they've done a lot of work to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we all need some more little delving into this element of ourselves, because I know personally, I still feel like a child, and I had a pretty reasonable upbringing, but I still have things clinging on that I could lose some of that weight.
Yeah. Well, I think for most of us as children, particularly within the Western world, not many of us were brought up where our heart was kind of like the barometer of what we did. We didn't get to live heart-led existences, or very few of us, probably grew up on hippie communes and just got to basically, yeah. And because we didn't do that, we adopted a mask. We learnt, if I do this, I don't get into trouble, so I'll just do this. It might not be what my heart wants to do, but I will do. So we wear that mask, and we continue. That mask develops layers and layers and layers and layers, And back way back is that little Peter or little Mandy or little whoever that actually ended up getting locked up in a room because it wasn't safe for them to express in the way that they needed to express.
Do you know, Jamie Duff invited me over to dinner with a group of men, and none of us really knew each other, but there was a connective tissue. And this one guy, Raul, asked the table, he said, could you tell me what you learned from your father growing up? And now there must have been 8 of us odd at the table or more. And now, for whatever reason, I don't know if he instigated it. Maybe it was the first answer that got everybody on this answer pattern. But from looking at everyone at the table, you would never imagine anyone having an issue, right? We all just seemed like gentlemen that had things fairly well sorted. But the experience of watching every single person not only say what they learned from their dad, but then the trauma or what they didn't get from their dad was so profound, to be able to see this opening of everyone's wound of what they didn't get. And then when it came back to Raul at the start that asked the question, explained his experience having his mum leave his dad and move countries when he was a baby and not having the dad there. And then when he finally saw his dad, the issues that surrounded that when he was a 15-year-old, obviously a challenge at time at any stage. And then just before his dad was, his dad was dying the last time he saw him. And that just blew my mind that everybody has this wound, no matter how well they seem to have life covered. And from that point, you need to be so empathetic to all of the humans walking around and appreciating that in the challenge, we're all facing. We need to be lighthearted to give people some space to be and learn and grow. But obviously, it still takes a lot of time. And in this development space that we, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you're interested in uncovering some of these opportunities to be able to grow. It's a daily practice, right?
Totally. And that's something I'm really, really big on. Like I've had a daily practice now for almost, at least 14 years.
What is that?
What is my daily practice?
Can you share? Is it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I don't want to talk to people before I've had my daily practice. We actually had guests day last night, and I really feel rude, and I need to be really clear now with people when they stay. I think they're like, "What time do you get up?" And I'm like, I just need to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to see you in the morning, because mornings are my time to connect in. And my daily practice is, okay, sometimes it is a real effort to get myself down there. I'm really blessed. I practice in Deshmaya Temple, but sometimes I have to cut a deal with myself, like the personality aspect of myself has to cut a deal with the with my higher aspect. And it's like, come on, just go down there for 10 minutes. Just do it for 10 minutes. Come on. However, once I get there, it's always around an hour that I'm there for. My practice has been any form of yoga for the past 15 years or 14, 15 years. And then I always do a bit of meditation at the end of it. Lately, because I have been really working with my nervous system, it's been yin yoga. So the last couple of months it's been yin yoga, and time just disappears because I'm just connected to my breath, and that's all that really exists. And when I notice thoughts about the day, whatever I've got, whatever I'm processing coming in, I bring it back to a mantra. Yeah, that's my practice.
I think you actually motivated me with my morning practice, because I do 10 sun salutations every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it was influenced by you.
Yeah. It's a big part of the mentorship. It's a big part of what I like. It's like praying. It's like, you know how in Bali they make offerings all the time? It's like laying flowers at your feet, but at the feet of your divine. You know, I still struggle with not touching my phone before I do a practice. I don't really like to talk to people, but because I have kids, that's my excuse. That's my justification, even though they're on my favorites. And if there was an emergency, they would have rung me through. See, I'm still working on this one. Yeah. But yeah, it's imperative. It's imperative. Like, I can go 2 days without it, and then by the third, it's like, come on, you got to pick it back up again. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's got to be kind to yourself. I've had times where I'm not able to roll out the mat because of injuries and things, and yoga's not working for me, and I'm like, and it crushes me. So yeah, but you know, you can adapt.
You can. Yeah, you definitely can. You can, well, like me with yin yoga at the moment, because I'm really focusing in on slowing everything down.
Yeah.
You can always do something,
yes.
even just connecting in with the breath, and not in any of these extreme ways, but just sitting with yourself and witnessing the thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, just allowing your breath to flow in the way that it does, and being completely okay with that. It's just, for me, it's feeling the belly rise and fall, and just okay, here I am. And that, I feel like it's kind of like polishing myself. Like, you know, most of the times I brush my hair. I always brush my teeth in the morning. It's kind of like that. It's something that we're not taught, but it is so imperative for us to be showing up in our truth, to be able to find that stillness.
Yeah, it's a massive investment in the rest of the day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know it.
Absolutely.
Now, yoga is life, and life is available in all forms. If you're not into your yoga, there's many opportunities to take your morning in whichever direction you choose. I would like to ask, for leading up to the question that you have for us,
which you haven't peeked at, have you?
Which I can't read your writing, thankfully. I like not knowing. This is an exciting This is the most exciting thing that I've ever done in my life, to have guests on and pose a question to the audience, and me not knowing the question either. Now, I'd like to know where your headspace was at to get to this question. Like, is this something that's common that you think about, or is this something that you had to, dig around and figure out what would be something that works for this format?
Well, I think originally when you sent me an email about this, I did have a question. Straight away, something jumped in. And then, like, kind of life happened. And then when you sent me the email on Monday, like, I'd had quite a intensive weekend with some family issues, extended family issues. So I had no idea what you were talking about at that point. And then I got overwhelmed by the expansiveness of the nature of the question.
Yeah.
And then I went and did a practice.
Mm.
And I was just like, got it. Does that?
Yes, meditation does answer the questions.
Yeah.
Or create them. Awesome. So Mandi, please, what is your question for us today?
Okay, so my question for you today is, what is your most significant challenge to seeing all of yourself? Would you like me to repeat that?
Sure. Yeah.
So what is your most significant challenge to seeing all of yourself?
Now, there's no obligation to answer the question. You can think about it. You can write it down in the journal and put your answer in your own words, in your own time. But I will chat with Mandi about the question for a little while to give you a chance to get your head around it if you were to. And then, if you were motivated to share, that'd be awesome to hear what your thoughts are. But Mandi, how does that question resonate with you?
So, yeah, for me, it's a lack of stillness. So when I dived into this question for myself, like, I realized, when I look way back in my life, when I was a complete hedonist and my life was really externally focused, like, I learned some things about the darkness, but they were kind of like consequence related. They weren't kind of, I wasn't responding, I was reacting. And given I've just spent a beautiful month in Bali, I had all August in Bali. And the reason for me going there was to slow everything down and just to be able to find that pause almost, So for me, it's if I can't find that stillness, and I guess I've been talking about that already, every morning, if I don't find that stillness, then I'm not able to see, I'm not in a position where I can see different aspects of myself, or I can see the whole picture. Yeah.
So true. So true. Because I messaged you yesterday, the day before, saying if we could talk about spirituality for the distracted, for the busy person. Like, how do we get our spiritual connection and make, and find the benefits of spirituality practice in our lives when we're so distracted? So that makes so much sense with that stillness, because it's so true that when you have that space, and for me, it is 100% that. It would be the ability to be able to have time and space. And it also needs to be like having all of those safety measures met. Safety, food, having things covered before you get the opportunity then to delve deeper into who you are and what lies beneath.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah, you're completely right there, and I hadn't even thought about that, because I mean, if you're living out of your car, for example, I mean, like,
your spiritual awakening.
Well, that could be your spiritual awakening.
You could. Maybe not at the time. Maybe depends on what's on the radio at the time.
Yeah.
But choose your media wisely. We do have such a beautiful opportunity these days to be able to listen to such fantastic, information transmissions, shall we call it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And completely no judgment if that's where you are at the moment either.
No, we've all been there.
We have all been there, and that was exactly my next point. Yeah.
And that's, for coming on the podcast, there's no judgment. We're not going to coach you. I think that's really important if you wanted to share. But you're welcome to ask Mandi for guidance if you think there's something that you want to, cross over with her. And the other aspect is, if you're welcome, after the recording component of this session, we can drop the recording and you get a moment with Mandi to ask her anything and share with us if sharing off recording suits you as well. But Peter, would you like to share? Was that?
Yeah, I was just unmuting.
Thanks, Peter. It's so great to see you, man.
Yeah. Feels a little bit like you knew what the question was. I mean, our shared background, Mandi, for your background, Pete took me through some training, way back when I had a little bit of an issue with getting out of the fog of uncertainty. So my busy mind was well boistered by a busy job with a busy family, etc., etc. But so I guess my answer is it's a grounding practice, and the grounding practice is it's really got to inform my replenishment. So and I'm really discovering if I don't replenish, the grounding practice can do all it likes, but it's still not going to get me there. So so they're sort of linked. And that's my answer today. I'll tell you what it is in another week.
Thank you, Pete. And hats off to you, man. You've been absolutely doing the most stunningly beautiful work daily. You're so disciplined, and I'm so chuffed to know you from A to B, how far you've come, man. Thank you.
Thank you. I really resonate with that. Yeah.
Justin, thank you, man.
Okay. That was awesome. This was a really good question for me, and I've resonated with a lot of the things you've been speaking about, and I've taken notes like I do. I always love taking notes, and it was funny because I came into this with an expectation kind of where I think I'm going this week, what I think my significant challenge is actually going to be this week, because they're so vast and there's so many of them. But at this point in time, one of the things I've been latching onto all week, and I even mentioned this to Peter the other day over the phone, was, in short summary, not knowing, I wrote it down so I know exactly how I had it, not knowing what my presence is, or understanding why or how I might be perceived in a certain way. When I was younger, like I know this now, and I've sort of uncovered this recently, that like I know I've always had a trauma associated with people listening to me, like, because if people can't listen to you, then they can't believe you, and if they can't believe you, they can't believe in you. And so I had to form this belief in myself, even though I never addressed the fact that maybe people still aren't listening to me, or maybe they are, who knows. And so that was kind of like my protection mechanism. And to this day, it is so annoying because I'm constantly trying to learn and understand, and, you know, coming to the conclusion that it does cause me to be genuinely curious when I'm trying to understand a perception from someone else. Same way I'm trying to understand it, they're probably never going to understand mine. And coming to grips with that, and then just being okay with whatever it is I am presenting anyway, that's like my biggest significant challenge. Just finding those moments where I have to be like, why does that matter? Just do it. I know what I'm doing. This belief in myself has served me well. Keep doing that. Don't get triggered by it. So that's definitely my significant challenge in seeing all of myself at the moment. I like how Pete said at the moment, past me in a week, because I feel that greatly too. It's always a new highlight depending on the challenge. So that's mine. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Always good hearing from you, man. Mandi, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a go at that. Took me a little while to actually get my head around what the question means. For me, it's being understood. And the way it shows up for me is to feel to be understood. I overshare because I want to make sure that what I say is understood. So the more I say, the more I have a chance, I believe, that people understand what I'm saying. But the last week I had to find out that it's maybe the opposite. And so now I had to reflect and filter actually which part is maybe important or relevant and which one is not, and just trusting in the process that whoever wants to know something has the right to ask me for more information if they wanted to, and just feel also confident that they have the interest to. And I think there was a place where I didn't feel worthy enough to just share a little bit, because it felt to me that I was ripping me off of some information. And so there was this conflict within myself, and I'm going, oh my God, this is full on. And so just as he posed the question, I said, what is it actually? And initially I thought it's self-acceptance, but I'm going, no, I can accept it. It's something deeper below it. And what came up was understanding, or the lack of, at this moment. It might be different tomorrow, but that's where I'm tonight. So thank you for putting that question out there just to ponder. It's been really great so far. Thank you, Mandi.
Thank you, Mandi.
You're welcome.
Yeah, let me just see if I've got the question correct. What is the most significant challenge to seeing all of yourself? Is that correct? It's a tough one. It's a tough one because there's probably a few for me. I think going back to what you were saying, Mandi, like at different points in your life, you kind of have different things that are important to you at certain points. You know, like you're saying, oh, when I was younger, I was very, very hedonistic. That was me also up until I was 35, and I still am a little bit, but not all the time, you know. So you get to experience these things, and then you know, life goes into a period of self-reflection and then exploration and expansion. I mean, where I am now in my journey is that I'm prioritizing success above all else, and I am right in doing that because it feels exactly what I should be doing. And for my whole life, I've always wanted to be exactly where I am right now. And it never, I span my wheels for many years, trying this and trying that, and not really getting traction in, you know, the way that I wanted. So that's like the most, that is the complete driving force of my reality. But my biggest challenge within that, even though I have gratitude for all of that, is allowing somebody to really see me for exactly who I am, and for me to have that and to reciprocate that with a loved one. That's my biggest challenge. And I distract myself from that with my doings.
And I wonder if your doings are kind of subconsciously created as a distraction from seeing your whole self. So this concept of external.
Oh no! Well, what you mean that I've subconsciously constructed all of this so I don't have to actually look at anything to do with what I don't want to look at?
Yeah.
No. Not quite. I don't fully. There may be elements of truth in that.
You've fallen into it a bit, haven't you, Sam?
Eh?
You've fallen into success a little bit, haven't you?
Fallen into it.
Yeah, you just kind of, the path you're on just kind of, I mean, I know you do high-rise buildings, so that's probably bad terminology.
Oh yeah, fallen into it. So yeah, that's where, that's the best way that I can formulate a reply to that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Next time you're dangling off a building, you can think about how you've fallen into success again. Thank you, everybody,
awesome.
for your
Thank
shares. It really is inspiring to have you show up and share what's going on, and the greatest learnings come from hearing from each other, because we all hold so much experience and life that, you know, we do pick up that story from each other that resonates, and we have this connective tissue because we're more alike than we are different. And, you know, it helps to be able to have us all out there experiencing life so that we don't have to do it all ourselves. If we can bring the village vibe and share our experiences here, and then, you know, record the experience for others to collect in their own time. So I'd like to thank you, Mandi, for coming on and inspiring us with your wisdom. The meditation was absolutely out of this world. If anyone felt that was, you know, just some of the best, you know, connection you've had in some time, I'd be, you know, like there was that Joe Dispenza's kind of style of like looking outward that really captivated me for some time. And I used to bring it into all of my meditations to the point where I recorded some, and every time I'd say it, I'd hear in the recording, I'm like, oh, there you go again. But the way that you put it was so powerful. And if anyone would like to connect with Mandi and get some more of this amazing wisdom in their life and be able to find those steps towards the growth, obviously you don't need me to say any more, but look into the show notes, connect, even just to start the ball rolling by saying hello to Mandi and maybe thanking her for a time here in this community gathering. I'm sure she'd appreciate hearing from you. So,
Yes.
anything else you'd like to say that we may have missed, or something you'd like to share?
I have a women's retreat coming up in Bali, which is a go slow retreat, yin yoga. It's in North Bali. It's at a place called Shambhala. lots of waterfalls, hot springs, water temples, but it's actually like I've held a lot of retreats over the last 9 years or so, all over the world. And maybe my last 5 or 6 retreats have been really like we'd get up and do Agnihotra sunrise, and then we'd have breakfast, and then we'd have a teaching, and then we'd have lunch, and then we'd have a teaching, and then, you know, they were jam-packed, whereas this is so spacious. Get up at like 7:45, do a nice yoga and meditation for 2 hours, don't do anything until 1:30. When we have lunch, then go out and have a nice little cleanse in the water, whatever water activity we're doing. And yeah, so it's because it's based on my experience of just really slowing down the nervous system and allowing that stillness, allowing yourself the opportunity to see what arises within the pond. Yeah.
And dates for that?
Oh, good question. October the 19th to the 24th. So I've only really quick. I've only really got 1 spot left.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the course of how long does it take? What's the period?
It is 5 days, 6 days, 5 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Definitely jump on that as soon as you can. You will not regret it. Let's live our lives as slowly as possible and take a breath and find the stillness to be able to see ourselves again and experience the benefits of you know, that spiritual awakening of yourself.
Thank you so much. Such an honor. Thank you for having me. Thank you to each of you for your sharings.
What a journey. Thank you, everybody. You're amazing.